Right, so today we're reviewing a game between me and Honey Badger. So the first thing we did, obviously, was just wait around for a couple of seconds while getting into the game. You know, this usually happens. But after that, I started retreating some of my troops and filling up the cities to gain up their productivity and make the upkeep of those troops barely anything to increase my funds, while they're trying some minor skirmishes in the north, trying to take a couple more less casualties than me, which currently wasn't working out for them, as I had to notice pretty quickly. Then I moved like a pretty full health morale to try and catch one of the used ones, and I guess 2v1s. So yeah, they manage a bit of a push for the cost of about 2,000 more casualties, but importantly, they don't cover up their cities, at least not yet. But I cycle one of my units from the front lines, and they start a major attack in the central pass, along with a minor skirmishes more in the northern pass, well, the northern half of it, trying to split my attention. You know, I'm trying to micromanage here. But I still have way more funds. I continue cycling some troops, as you can see, to get more have more health and morale troops. Meanwhile, they retreat one of their troops off the front line, which was heavily damaged. In the central pass, I'm winning, and they're starting to take pretty heavy casualties, about 16,000 more than me currently. As you can see, yet again, I cycle some more full health and morale units from the cities in exchange for damaged units to get healed faster there. And in the center, I'm starting to win pretty heavily, except for like a 3v2 of some of my tanks, which I don't notice for quite a while. And in the north, I try to perhaps try an encirclement, but it doesn't end that well. They managed to cut it off, and that unit now I tried to run around theirs to try and see if they have, a free city. Because if I can get into a free city, then I would be set, as then I can, they'll take tons of damage from not having enough food supplies for their own troops, and I do manage to get in, which leads to them taking even more casualties, ballooning their casualties way higher than mine. And one of their frontline units in the northern pass got overextended, and I managed to encircle them against the top of the map. I managed to hold off against the first attacker on the city I see, but with the second, much more healed unit, they managed to take the town, and they are down 40,000 troops though, which is about, I think a division is about 20,000 troops, I believe. I've not counted. Yeah. Anyway, I put in another full health and morale unit into the central battlefield, as it's quickly becoming much more important than the skirmishes up in the northern one. Meanwhile, the southern battlefield is still completely silent. We have me just getting some more troops in, as you can see, full health, full morale. Meanwhile, they are also moving back some of their more heavily damaged units as not to lose them. Now, we only have a small skirmish up north for now, while in the center, everyone's just healing up their morale and health, slight repositionings, some minor skirmishes. Meanwhile, up in the north, they're 2v1ing one of my units, but I have another one on the one of them too, and now they start bringing back some of their units into their cities to heal, also coincidentally increasing their funds. Meanwhile, I'm cycling some more units. As you can see now, I have about 44,000-ish troop advantage above them, and I have to retreat some units from the northern front because they're getting pretty heavily damaged. I do manage to take out one of their infantry there, another one, leaving them like a 4v2, except I'm retreating some of mine to heal because I don't want to overextend with some damaged units and they make a comeback. So I do a large scale cycling, including even my southernmost city, furthest away from the battlefield. So there's that. It takes quite a while, of course, with this sort of map if you're doing it from one side to the other. But in the center, the battle is raging yet again, with me slightly pushing due to it having higher health units just in general, but they're moving back on their major troop heavies to defend more, as we're treating one of the heavily damaged infantry units. But I stabilized the front line and nothing much is happening. I do outnumber them, but they have one more heavy. But I do put a full health and morale unit against one of theirs, which wasn't anywhere near as high, just to get some damage in for the price of some easily recoverable morale. I moved one of my reinforcements down to the central battlefield, seeing how damaged some of the units are. Meanwhile, the southernmost battlefield is still without a fight. You can see I'm retreating another heavy from the central and filling in with 2 infantry. They tried to take out one of my infantry. I'll actually just remove the timer for now, so you can see the northern battle more clearly. As you can see, currently it's mainly in the forest, and nobody has decided to put any heavies in there, at least not right now. And 3 of my reinforcements, full health, full mark. I'll try to take out one of their heavies. You know, just because heavies are hard to repair, and or take out, because, you know, they're quite tanky. And they do manage to defend it with a couple of reinforcements, and they bring in reinforcements from the south. Both of us not having that much military there. I just have one closer. I do some minor skirmishes up in the north now, as you can see. Around here, trying to, you know, opportunistic things, trying to like 3v1 a unit or something, but they do the same thing up there in the south of the northern battlefield, doing a 2v1. And they are slowly pushing me back. I'm thinking of going back to a defensive, more defensive straight line instead of this area here, which would take up more troops to that. Meanwhile, they're bringing in some more reinforcements in the central. I currently have like a 50,000 troop advantage. I attempt to do an encirclement of their troops by moving up north and hoping to defeat one of their units. And I can see one is moving forward and the other back, so I tried to leave some area for to get encircled by it did. But they're both heavily damaged and one of them will soon fall. They bring in some more reinforcements from the south now. One goes to the city and their unit inevitably got encircled there, leading to yet another casualty for them, leaving me with about 60,000 troop advantage right there. Now we can see they're trying to mount a counter-attack. Actually, I'm just going to turn on the timer. We are at 7 minutes now in the game. This was a long battle, you know. The front lines barely moved. Say in the comments whether you prefer me commentating it like this, or do you prefer just like a couple of captions based on the most important moments of the battle. Actually, I might just do that. Yeah, I think I'll do that for the next video, and you know, with the changing music. But more in the game, we can see I continue swapping my units around, especially if they get low on morale, more so than health, as morale really does quite a lot of difference. And I'm just trying to grind down their troops here so I can start a full attack, start trying to surround the most northern unit, bringing one in, but they bring another unit in to defend it, but it's a bit too late, and I got one more of their units stuck in there, which is good again for me, weakening their front line. That was a pretty strong unit, and they also are attacking my units to try and take it back, which means they're taking more damage as I'm on the defense there. Also, yep, I move one more troop to the to the central battlefield, sorry. Yeah, I forgot to record like 5 minutes of the sound, so that's why I'm redoing it later now. Anyway, they now are trying to 2v1 with my northern units, and I'm just bringing some more reinforcements to the center. They retreat one of their units, but 2 actually, but 1 just goes right back. They retreat a heavily damaged unit. No, with those heavily damaged units, sometimes I suggest, especially if you have enough funds, which they currently do not, just to rebuild it, as they'll already have full morale instead of having to heal morale and health both. Also, another criticism I'd have for them is they don't put any of their troops back onto the close cities just to heal. But as you can see, at this sort of point is the time I should be pushing if they have like only like 4 or 5 units to my 7. You know, because now I can bring in I'm bringing in some more high health units, high morale, and you know, bringing them in there, and yeah. Meanwhile, they continue, but they actually put one of their units back onto a city. I don't know if it's for defense of the city or just to heal it. And I continue dominating in funds. Their casualties, we have about 60,000 less casualties and good 80,000 troop advantage. As you can see, I'm better at cycling, which means my units also heal faster, which means I have more troops compared to the casualties. So even if we had equal casualties, I'd still have a 20,000 troop advantage at this point. Meanwhile, they try to distract me in the south. Here, yet again, you can see I'm trying to push against their heavily damaged units up in the northern battlefront. Meanwhile, in the south, they try to do some skirmishes against my units, but since they're on the defense, they take more morale damage, hence my more morale units do more damage out of self-morale. Meanwhile, back in the northern battlefield, you can see I'm beginning to think that, how to push through and how we can fearful units have become. But I keep worrying about overextending myself, even though I have like an 800 Legion funds and like 90,000 troop advantage something along those lines. I'm a bit cautious as I just don't want to overextend myself, as that's something I've done before. But I think at this point it would have been pretty safe to push. But they do manage to bring in some reinforcements, and they do have a heavy against my heavy. But I do bring in a light there, thinking how to defend. I of course here think how to get my cycle units, which I am using all these cities. As you can see, they heal the units faster. So I bring in the very good units, as in they have high health and morale, and bring back the most damaged health and morale wise units back over to these cities where they heal yet again. That's cycling. And that's a tactic where so you can do more damage with the units instead of just having a couple broken units from the front line. I think here, I usually don't do all-out pushes, as you can see, but here I feel like I probably should have done it, as I outnumbered all the troops and they didn't have that much in the front line. But, in the south, they're still attacking me, they bring in the light, they defend. Of course, I can see that fog before. I think about pushing down here, but, heavies are so slow. And I finally begin a pretty big offensive up in the north, trying to completely break through their line. As you can see, I've been pushing them slowly themselves, but they do decide to bring in some reinforcements, which does heavily slow down my thing, and also cycling from forward cities pretty slow, and I have to worry about the other two fronts since I like to micromanage. So I zoom into one front, tunnel vision, and only notice another front when it's in like, oh, they attacked me there. I really should have focused more there, I tried to yet again snipe their city, but they do manage to block it. I do get through, I believe. But here, I'm pretty bad at using my extra funds to put into troops. I will admit that they do manage to bring down the 90,000 troop advantage to about 60,000 about this point. As you can see, yet again, I'm trying to push, fight. They bring out their unit from the city. I'd say that's usually a bad idea. If you just stand in a circle instead of going out, and usually I manage to, if it has enough health, I manage to like run around there as it tries to chase me and snap into the city if they retreat out. As you can see now, their front line look pretty weak in the north, but they do make progress in the south, bringing in another of their healed heavy. In the north, I think this is like the sort of point where I should just push, bring in like the reinforcements from these cities. My opinion, as you can see here, I'm just trying to cycle yet again. I'm trying to maintain my lead. This is, I think, I get a bit slow in the mid game, and lots of the times I get a high troop advantage at the beginning, but sometimes I just slowly lose it over time. If I can't capitalize and gain a city out of it, and they manage to defend pretty well. They try to encircle my heavy, I believe. But I believe if they attacked here, they could have cut over out even at the mountain for supplies, but they back off and I managed to retreat my heavy to safety. As you can see, I'm cycling another batch of units in. So I should have just attacked once I get like these like 4 couple good units instead of worrying about the middle so much. But they do manage to bring in forces, they bring in most of their reserves in fact. Meanwhile on the south they do manage a bit of a push, but their light is heavily damaged and I'm now 2v1ing it, it's about to die. And I'm thinking now about pushing down in the south as I have a clear advantage of one more light. However, my heavies is heavily damaged, so it would have to take a while to break. So right now, no one's really fighting for a while, except in the south, repositioning and regaining. I get more troops, and I'll buy, I still have like 1,000 funds. I should be using that. but that also blocks where, you know, I want to heal my unit. So there's the choice. Do we want a new full morale unit, but not much of the unit to fight? Or would we even prefer to heal the unit we already have? So yeah, and have the old unit to heal slower, you know? But they do start another attack now in the north, having replenished it with lots of reserve troops. But in the south, I managed to encircle one of your units. And I think, why am I attacking it? I should just let it run out of supplies, and if anything, it can attack me. As you can see, that's what I do. It's a good move, in my opinion. What's the point of already attacking it if you have already been so? That's unless like you're going to run for a city right there. Then of course you should just quickly get out the troops. Meanwhile in the north they start attacking me yet again. We have some more skirmishes. As my more healed up units due to their early advantage manage to take quite a lot of inflict lots of casualties. They notice that their unit is surrounded in the south and they try to re-attack and get it out, but they are unsuccessful in that endeavor because, you know, it has very low morale and health already. If anything, they should have tried to do that earlier, and their unit died. So I just should have pushed way more. Like, I could pin them against the mountain, surround those two heavies, and then I could, like, flood these 4 units in, down through the bottom here, but that I give them enough time to get another heavy into there, and then I wouldn't have as much as an advantage with heavy, so just lay off for now. Meanwhile, up in the north, we can see it again. They're attacking me, and I do yet again have more funds, which I'm not using, and a fully healed unit that I should have just brought to the front lines, but yeah. Sometimes I just like building up the funds for disaster scenarios, which is probably not gonna happen if I have a huge advantage in troops, me looking just at my 70-ish thousand troop advantage now. Anyway, they managed to stabilize their front lines in the south, and I'm just trying to chip away at some of their units up in the northern battlefield as I go through there having damage. But I managed to bring 3 units against my 1 unit, so I have to retreat a bit. But I do manage to get a cycle heavy in, so it's pretty good. Well healed. But they managed to also bring in a heavy because I thought I've got a heavy here now. Surely they can't be bringing one in already. So I think I can push like this direction using the heavy on the hills where it does double damage. But no, it just quickly stabilizes yet again as I am more afraid of pushing. You know, let's have like an 100,000 advantage. I think I should just grind against that because even if I take way more damages, you know, then I believe it's worth it due to the fact that for me that may only be 1% of that truth, but for there it might be 4%. Even if I am taking less damage, comparatively, I'm doing more as they won't be able to defend all the fronts. But I don't do that, you know, I always think of this post-game, of course, when it's not as useful as doing the game, but the game continues, I still have pretty good fun, and I'm still continuing to cycle my units, and they launch another punitive assault in the center, to 2v1 my heavy in the hill. Goes pretty well for them, and they're trying to take out one of mine, so they retreat their forces a bit of the heavy in the southern battlefield. But I also retreat. I just retreat one heavy completely just with the heal, and they manage to try an assault in the northern sector yet again, but they have to pull back after they do it completely destroyed. See, now they're also building up quite a bit of funds, especially with me not have you know, just having more dividends and taking up more funds, you know. So they managed to take quite a lot, and they now I finally do a pretty low counter attack, but by now they've built up quite a couple, even though they're having that thing can still hold on while others heal. But I do manage to take out at least one of their lights as I push forward a bit, but you know, if they have a heavy there, it stops me for quite a while. They get a full health reinforcement, which of course I don't want to face with my not full health stuff, so I retreat back my heavy and bring out a different one, you know. If I had 2 heavies at the same time, though, that would have made quite a difference, but I don't. And they bring in all of their reinforcements, but I don't. So I always think, oh, I should be saving up for fun, you know. But sometimes you just should use up all of yours at once, I believe. If it can make a drastic difference, like taking a city back or there, as long as the cost is not too high. You see, I try and push there, you kill the unit, but they bring in a full health reinforcement. I bring in my second heavy, but I retreat the other one in exchange. Meanwhile, back in the center, most of mine are in the northern bit of the central battlefield, and I managed to break through the south, heavily damaging some units, so I have to do repositioning there. And in the northern sector, I'm dealing pretty heavy damage to their heavy, while mine is just in the back line, hoping for eventually a counter attack. In the center, I am now mounting already a counter attack against their attack with 5 troops speed 3, but they do have 2 heavies of favorable terrain there, so they do manage to hold me off, except for retreating a bit, standardizing the front lines, as it's a bit more open here, so more units to build up, so my advantage can be more pronounced in the battle, instead of just cycling more healthy units in exchange for more damage units from a small front line. Meanwhile, they continue trying small attacks up in the northern battlefield, and my troop advantage is yet again 100,000. This is the point where you should just command your troops, do an attack, it's doing more in percentage of damage to them, but instead I do another pretty big cycle. I like cycling most of my units, because I don't like it if I just have a full health unit, which I'm not using while having damage units on the front line. That results, especially this sort of map, if I'm trying to get all the unhealthy units are here, it takes quite a while for them to go all the way to the southern 3 cities and get back to the healthy units. So my front lines might be a bit weaker for a while, as they do initiate another attack, catching me a bit off guard, but I still have 100k troops advantage. This is the point where you should just commit for just to take out and say that I have even attack. But I don't, and they managed to get some small land gains, making it a smaller front line, which is good for them. You should try, if you have more units, you should try to stretch the front line. If you have less, you should try to make it smaller, due to the fact that, if you have less units, you can't defend a large front line as well and be able to cycle with units in the back line, because you wouldn't have any. You'd have to ultimate them, so they can't just break through. But they have to retreat one of their heavily damaged units. But now they have 3 pretty good reserve units and a heavy unit and some more units coming in from the south. So even though now I try an offensive, now that the reinforcements are coming in, doesn't work out as well. Plus they have much higher funds at this moment, so they fund a couple of new units to come. But for now they don't. I managed to bring in a full health heavy, but it doesn't really matter as I have to retreat my current heavy due to being heavily damaged. I don't want to lose such a invaluable asset. Meanwhile, on the south, I think I should be trying to pressure them, getting away with them with the light. I do outnumber them, even though they're one more not heavy, but I have 3 heavies in these cities, so if I just committed, I don't often commit to an attack, because I believe that I could defeat it. So let's say I'm trying to micromanage it. I don't want to commit to another attack trying to micromanage 2 separate fronts, which is highly difficult, at least for me. Meanwhile, they continue doing slight attacks, cycling their unit pretty well in my opinion. Here, as you can see, they only are 90,000 troop deficit and have way more funds than me. They could pop out 3 troops. That would be 600 each for light, so they could even do 2 heavies and a light, even though heavies do take way longer to get troops back up. Anyway, I continue cycling my units up in the battlefield, and it gets smaller as they push to a smaller line, which is of course better for them. Here I should keep pushing for larger front lines to use my large troop advantage more effectively. But instead, in this small front line, they are able to slightly out-micromanage me, and my heavy got heavily damaged and have to retreat it, but I don't manage even that, and I lose a heavy. Luckily, I'm bringing another, but I'm only having 3 heavies against 1. I might have 2 heavies on the front line at once, which would be much more useful than just having 1 there. But they do try to distract me from that now that I've done there by doing a small attack, well, pretty major attack in the central sector, thing that I would be able to push them here if I focus, but now they're distracting me, so I try to out-micromanage them there and lose focus on the northern sector, letting them to stabilize the front line and not having to increase it by any major amount. Now they continue to cycle some of the units, as you can see, very heavily damaged units of the city, and it feels way faster. Honestly, I'd be doing that without, but it might take a long time for a responsive fire attack. So I'd say that's a good play, keeping them more close. They're not really using these two cities for this front line instead of just using all of this. I should be trying to push SU2. They do manage to damage even my heavy up there, so I'll probably retreat it soon. That's at least what I'm thinking is, thinking the safe play is paying off, but honestly, I think I should be quite a lot more aggressive one, especially at the time I have like a 189 strict advantage, which is like nearly double the points. But for now, well, not nearly double, like 50% more at least. But they do manage to 2v1 another of my infantry up in the north, and I do have full cycle, which means all of my cities will be cycled, or almost all. Like, I already cycled this one recently, and it's about to be a fully healed unit, so I'll just wait off a moment. I'll probably cycle it with this heavily damaged unit in the back line. I moved my heavy onto this bit of patch of hills to be more effective than the forest, and I do manage to push, but right now, because of the full cycling, I don't have too many units there, but I will have a couple for health units coming in now soon, so as long as they can build up at this time, I will be able to make a large counter attack. They make another attack in the center yet again, distracting my focus between two fronts that I micromanage, and they don't have way more funds than needed to be having more troops. Sometimes if I have a very heavily damaged troop, I just let it die if I'm going to like slowly only gain funds when they're pretty low, due to the fact I believe that being able to build a couple of high morale already small, not much health troops already on the city, trying to move there is sometimes better than having to move a heavily damaged or still picking up, supplies, funds while it's getting their troops. And I think at times that could be a good choice, but of course lots of the time it's better, especially if there's quite a lot of health still to just cycle the old unit and suppress for the new unit, Getting a ton of new units can be very helpful, especially if you're trying a last ditch defense of a city or you're trying to do a full on counter attack. But for now I'm just on the defense in the central battlefield, then push me back to the most concentrated point, and for now I'm just hoping to defend as I'm trying to micromanage on two fronts, which isn't going that well for me currently, of course, for obvious reasons, as my attention is split. Meanwhile, we're already at 26 minutes, so people are getting to see properly already. And I do another large cycle, bringing in two pretty good health units up to the central battlefield. As you can see, if no one's really focusing that much on the southern battlefield, due to it being a small thing, we both probably believe we can't push through it, and even if they did, I'd hit it with another defensive line until then one city, and then have to push all the way to one city and then have a defensive line with the river on the mountain. And because river lines are very costly, especially if they're blocked. So that's probably why no one's really focusing there. Meanwhile here, I can see that if I push, there's not much defense, and I can swipe through the back line, and if they push, they get two cities. They're already pretty close. They're slowly pushing me, and they have much more funds, enough for 8 light units, but obviously that would make some funds rapidly collapse. They'll probably have too many units then, but it's a possibility, and I'm worried about them having way more. But especially because most of the units are damaged here, so they could just have a new unit pop up for the price of 200 funds, and it would be already full morale, which is much more better than a no morale, very low level health unit. Meanwhile, they almost lost the heavy in the central battlefield, and the northern was still raging. I still outnumber them, especially if I bring in another heavy. That would be a 4v3 in heavy. I'd have like 3v1 in light. If you bring down these two, it would be a 5-1 in light. Something else in thought. I should do here, they increase their amount of funds willing for new troops, and they quickly build quite a lot more. Saying now that there are 120,000 troop deficit, because their last ditch attack is sort of failing on. Lots of the troops are dying in the front line, so they need new troops to replenish and make a defense. And now finally in the south, you see I try to start exploiting my advantage, trying to cycle units and make a push there happen. But in the northern two battlefields, the northern and central ones, it's been stabilized. They're retreating quite a lot of their units to there, so now would be an opportune time to push in the central battlefield, especially since they're so heavily damaged and they don't have any more. Of course, I don't know if that's reserved, but seeing as how little troops they have and how much are on the other front line, I think I probably should have attacked more readily here. And they do realize the bad position, so they surrender. Takes